Chapter 1306. The Bald Crane's Great Enemy Greetings, Xianxia Su. It has been 10 years since we met, and your elegance has become even greater than before. Your power has become stronger by more than several-fold. You truly make me impressed from the bottom of my heart. In fact, I can often see you in my dreams, and I worship you day and night, hoping that the span of 10 years would go by in the blink of an eye, because I would then be able to see you again and personally bear witness to your splendor. My admiration towards you can no longer be described by any of the words in this eon. It comes from my heart, my soul, and is the strongest excitement I, Yang Pei, have ever felt in my life. Xianxia, your figure is as straight as a pine tree. The brilliance of your mind surpasses the light of the galaxy. Your great delight appeared on the face of Yang Pei, who had been waiting at Arid Triad's Gap for some time, the moment he saw Su Ming. He lifted his feet and immediately took a few strides before he wrapped his fist in his palm towards Su Ming to give him a deep bow. His hands almost touched the tip of his toes when he bowed, and it was an act completely unsightly for a sovereign of dawn. Not only did he bow so completely, he had also made sure that his words were spoken incredibly clearly. Each of his sentences contained rich emotion and true zealousness. Forget whether his words were sincere or fake. Just his voice and his words alone showed Yang Pei's nearly obsequious behavior to Su Ming and how he was currying his favor. Su Ming cast a glance at Yang Pei and let out a dry cough, cutting off Yang Pei's words. No one had any idea how long they would have lasted if he let him continue. Yang Pei's change made sense. In truth, Su Ming was rather unaccustomed to his attitude, but he still quite admired him in his heart. But before Yang Pei could say anything else, the bald crane suddenly focused its gaze while standing beside Su Ming, and a hint of wariness appeared within it. It felt that the sovereign of dawn Yang Pei was too shameless. His level of shamelessness caused the bald crane to be wary of him, but it was also quite amazed. This person. Damn it, is he trying to snatch my position? Or else why would his expression look so familiar? Darn it all, this is an expression only I can put on in front of Su Ming. This shameless Yang Pei, he. I will immediately memorize all the words he just said. There are things in this person's methods of flattery that this great bald crane can learn from. The bald crane immediately felt its spirits lift when it made its decision. It was great in this aspect. It was incredibly studious, such as when it saw the abyss dragon turn into a dog in the past. It had, in its ignorance, believed that dogs were fiercer, and so it imitated the dragon and turned into a dog. When it was in the land of berserkers, it was chased by the birds above the Dead Sea, and hence, it believed they were strong, so it immediately transformed into them and mingled among them happily. When it was in Black Ink Planet, it saw some of the families receiving much greater responses while they were searching for a wife for their son, which was why it roped in the abyss dragon to turn into a beautiful woman and went to each family to deceive them. All of these things spoke of how eager for knowledge the bald crane was, and right then, its studious nature appeared once more. Almost at the same time the bald crane became wary. The sovereign of dawn Yang Pei saw it, and his heart let out a thump. His instincts told him that the bald crane in front of him was definitely a great enemy of his. It was not the type of enemy mentioned in battles, where they had to fight each other to the death, but was the greatest competition for the position of Su Ming's right-hand man, which Yang Pei was determined to gain. Damn it, why does Xianxia Su have a crane like this by his side? Look at it, that sharp beak and monkey-like cheeks, that bald body. It's clearly what is reflected on its external appearance once it has trained its sleaziness and shamelessness to a certain degree. This crane is a great enemy of mine. The sovereign of dawn Yang Pei immediately carved the image of the bald crane in his mind, but he did not show any sign of his thoughts on his face. Still kept the obsequious look. If any cultivator from Dark Dawn or Saint Defier saw him at that moment, they would definitely be struck dumb, because they could not imagine that the usually callous and arrogant Yang Pei would be able to have such an expression. Xianxia, you are finally here. I have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Xianxia, ever since I met you, I felt that my status as a sovereign of dawn is no longer interesting. I came to a swift realization and will give up on my status as the sovereign of dawn all so that I can follow you and be your attendant. Xianxia, you only need to point forward, and this young Yang Zi will immediately charge forth. Even if the way forward is filled with mountains of blades and seas of fire, this young Yang Zi will not even frown. Xianxia, as this young Yang Zi is so sincere in his request, Please allow him to follow you. Please grant his request. The sovereign of Dawn Yang Pei gritted his teeth. The bald crane's appearance had made him feel incredibly threatened, which was why he changed his original plan, and as he spoke, he fell to his knees and worshipped Su Ming, completely giving up on his status as a sovereign of Dawn. The more callous and aloof a person appeared to be, the greater the effect of this action would be. The higher the status a person possessed, the greater the sincerity they would present to others. Yang Pei knew about this clearly. In truth, during his earlier days, he had acted this way, and his personality was directly related to why he was capable of becoming a sovereign of Dawn. He would usually present himself as an aloof and arrogant person, but when he ran into life-threatening situations, he would immediately change his attitude. He was the true definition of great adaptability. He did not even feel a single bit of discomfort in his heart or that he had wronged his status. To Yang Pei, dignity was something that could be used to exchange for certain things. However, once he became strong and gained the position of the Sovereign of Dawn, he had believed that there was no longer anyone who could make him do such a thing, unless they were the sleeping old monsters. But those old monsters were not awake, and Yang Pei had sealed this divine ability he believed was the greatest in the universe under layers of dust. Up till then, that is. After personally witnessing and experiencing how terrifying Su Ming was, he naturally presented this divine ability he had practiced for years and showed his true nature. Yang Pei's words stunned Su Ming in the word's truest sense. Flattery that continued endlessly was something Su Ming had never heard before, even from the bald crane. In fact, it could be said that it was the first time he had faced something like that. Even if he had heard of it before, he had not paid attention to it, but right then, the person before his eyes was one of Dark Dawn's sovereigns of Dawn, which was why Su Ming was truly and completely taken aback. His mind had actually gone blank at that moment, which was a rare event. When Yang Pei saw Su Ming's expression, he was also momentarily stunned. In truth, he had only spoken 1/10 of the flattering words he had prepared in his heart. He had thought that the bald crane was a great enemy of his and that Su Ming was already used to this sort of flattery, which was why he had been pondering over how he should change his words so that the effect of his flattery would be stronger. However, when he saw that Su Ming was stunned, Yang Pei immediately felt great delight in his heart. He sighed in his heart and believed that the bald crane was still unable to compare to him. Just as he was about to continue speaking so that he could strike while the iron was hot, the bald crane jumped to its feet, alarmed. Bullshit! It shouted as if it was exasperated. The bald crane might not have feathers, but it had some fine hairs on its skin. At that moment, all of them had stood up, and with great hostility, it glared at Yang Pei while screeching in a piercing manner. Su Ming, don't believe in this wretch's words. He said that he would rush into mountains of blades and seas of fire without even frowning. But with his level of cultivation, those mountains of blades and seas of fire he spoke of would be nothing. Those mountains of blades and seas of fire I spoke of were just an example, Brother Bald Crane. Don't be hung up on that now. Do you know what is an example? Oh well, you should not have come to understand something like this just yet. It's fine, when we have the chance in the future, I will teach you, Yang Pei said without hesitation. Why you? I went through grave dangers in the land of berserkers with Su Ming. If I, Yang Pei, am safe in the future while Senior Su is injured, then I will stand to be accused by the public. Su Ming and I were exiled to the barren lands of divine essence. The bald crane was completely livid. It flapped its wings, and a great presence immediately erupted from its body. I will definitely fight beside Senior Su in the future. Even if the enemy is Dark Dawn, I will definitely not hesitate with my attacks. Yang Pei glared at the bald crane. The man and crane attacked each other with words to show their loyalties. He watched it. Su Ming did not know whether he wanted to laugh or cry. Once he cast a glance at Yang Pei, he let out a dry cough, swung his arm, and immediately separated the duo, who had come closer to each other and were about to let their cultivation bases erupt from their bodies to duke it out against each other. Yang! This young Yang Zi is here. An excited expression appeared on Yang Pei's face, and he knelt down to Su Ming again. Heh, Yang Zi. The word for swallow, huh? That's it, you're a swallow. The bald crane seemed to have thought of something. A sleazy look suddenly appeared on its face, and it glared fiercely at Yang Pei while it started cursing him maliciously in its heart. Swallow, don't blame me for being ruthless, you're just too cunning. You are the one who forced my hand. I'm going to use that stupid claw on you so that you will become the same as the Abyss Dragon." The bald crane's fierce expression immediately made Yang Pei wary of it in his heart, while he wondered whether the bald crane had any powerful skills at its disposal. Su Ming was rather unused to this, so he let out a fake cough and spoke to Yang Pei to distract him. "All right. Enough. Yang. Hurry up and lead the way to Dark Dawn's camp." "I understand." Yang Pei's spirits lifted. He immediately got up, formed a seal with his right hand, then pointed at Arid Triad's gap, which was not far away from them. The gap immediately shuddered, and a huge runic symbol appeared on it. The runic symbol flashed a few times before it shuddered and stopped moving. Su Ming's expression became one of calmness as he stared at Arid Triad's gap. He had personally witnessed the gap being formed in the past. At that time, he had not expected that one day he would step into Dark Dawn and sanctify through it. "Master!" A nostalgic look appeared in Su Ming's eyes, but he did not hesitate and took a step forward to step into Arid Triad's gap. Behind him were the bald crane and Yang Pei. They flew out at the same time, as if they were competing against each other to be the first to follow Su Ming. They turned into two long arcs and instantly disappeared into Arid Triad's gap with Su Ming. Chapter 1307. Dark Dawn. Sanctifier. Dark Dawn and Sanctifier were on the second wing occupied by Arid Triad among the four wings of Harmonious Morus Alba. It was a huge expanse cosmos, and while it was not like the first expanse cosmos belonging to Arid Triad, the overall area was about the size of 3 true worlds in Arid Triad. After all, besides the 4 great true worlds, Arid Triad expanse cosmos also had the barren lands of divine essence as well as other empty spots at its borders. In fact, Arid Triad had 9 true worlds during the previous era. In the second expanse cosmos belonging to Arid Triad, which was a small wing under the 2 big wings belonging to Harmonious Morus Alba, Dark Dawn, and Sanctifier each occupied half of the universe. It might seem like a lot, but it was not in comparison. However, Dark Dawn and Sanctifier referred to these areas as their camps because they each occupied 180 expanse cosmoses in that universe. There was a total of 360 expanse cosmos, and they were all gathered in Arid Triad's second universe. They were densely packed together and separated by borders. They had formed such a unique camp built by multiple expanse cosmoses because Sanctifier and Dark Dawn had moved there during the second era of the current eon. They preserved their cultivation systems and methods from the second era and continued training in them. They also continued to use the structure of the ancient countries formed by different tribes during that time. Each expanse cosmos within Dark Dawn and Sanctifier's 360 expanse cosmoses belonged to a tribe who had occupied it and grown in it. Each tribe occupied 1 expanse cosmos, and the 2 camps had even set up an expanse cosmos conference. This so-called expanse cosmos conference was built by the tribe elders of the different tribes from the 180 expanse cosmoses of each camp. The 3 sovereigns of Dawn were among the leaders, and they were the highest form of authority in their camp. There were 3 sovereign expanse cosmoses and a central expanse cosmos in Dark Dawn's camp. These 4 expanse cosmoses formed the heart of Dark Dawn. The 3 sovereign expanse cosmoses formed a triangle that surrounded the central expanse cosmos. The central expanse cosmos was the core of all of Dark Dawn's camp. Every expanse cosmos conference held by the tribe elders of the 180 expanse cosmoses would be held in this place to determine all the important matters regarding Dark Dawn's camp. As for the 3 sovereigns of Dawn, they were not the same people throughout the ages. They were chosen by the tribes, and they would take up their positions for 30,000 years. Once they were over, another election would be held, and whether the previous candidates could remain as sovereigns of Dawn would depend on their strength, luck, and the level of support they had from the tribes. Of course, the main focus was on their levels of cultivation. All candidates had to be in Avacania realm before they could run for the position of a sovereign of Dawn. That was why over the course of countless years, sovereigns of Dawn did not change often, unless at some point in time, a new person reached Avacania realm. It was the case for Yang Pei in the past. As he fought for the position, he had to give up many things before he could finally take over the previous sovereign of Dawn and reach the top. As time passed, the 30,000 years had almost come to their end. It would have been fine if no other cultivators in Avacania realm appeared, but this time, there were 2 who had appeared in Dark Dawn's camp. One of them was Hongzhu, who was the person Yang Pei had replaced in the past, and the other was the genius Huang Tai, who appeared from Central Hua tribe. Those two people clearly intended to compete for the title of the Sovereign of Dawn, setting things in motion in secret in all of Dark Dawn. However, the invasion of Arid Triad had turned the world upside down. At the very least, the tide of change could not stir during war, or else, with how Saint Defier had been lurking around by the side waiting to strike, the cooperation between the tribes in Dark Dawn would instantly crumble. In a boundless desert in the Expanse Cosmos belonging to Yang Pei among the three sovereign Expanse Cosmoses was an oasis. At that moment, there was a man and a woman sitting by a table there. Their gazes were on a black jade slip on the table, but their expressions betrayed their uncertainty. This is the jade slip Yang Pei sent to us a few months ago. That terrifying existence is about to arrive. The desert breeze came blowing towards them. It was very dry, but when it reached the oasis, the wind became gentle, and it was even refreshing when it landed on the people's bodies. It lifted the woman's dark locks to reveal a petite face that could make a person's heart race. She was Dark Dawn Sovereign of Dawn Ziruo from East Extraction Tribe. She was dressed in a purple long robe, and her black hair spilled over her shoulders. She had an incredibly beautiful face, and there were two purple crystals at the center of her brow, which meant she was the famous Sovereign of Dawn Ziruo. When she spoke, she lifted her head and averted her gaze from the jade slip to look towards the white-haired old man sitting on the other side of the table. The old man's eyes burned brightly, and he had an awe-inspiring expression. When he opened his eyes, all people could see that there were vertical pupils in his eyes. One of them was yellow, and the other red, causing him to look incredibly bizarre. Even if he was sitting idly, he gave off the feeling that he could change the laws in the entire world. He was the strongest Sovereign of Dawn in Dark Dawn. Kang San Nu. This person has the power to kill those in Avacania realm. He has fused with the will of a true world in Arid Triad and even sealed a powerful warrior from the previous eon who managed to wake up through some unknown method. His presence caused Yang Pei to remember those sleeping old people. The strongest of this eon, her? When the old man said those words faintly, his pupils shrank, but anyone could see the faint shadow of a fighting spirit that was only a spark away from burning. I wonder if I activate all my cultivation base and release my seal, would I be able to kill this person? If I could truly kill him, would I be able to reach another breakthrough in terms of my level of cultivation? The old man said hoarsely, and the fighting spirit in his eyes grew stronger. Ziruo frowned while casting a glance at the old man. But Yang Pei seems to want us to be polite and respectful towards this person, and we are supposed to cooperate with him in everything that he wants to do in this place, saying that it will only be beneficial for Dark Dawn and that we will suffer no losses. In fact, this may be a chance for us to become the masters of Saint Defier, Ziruo said softly. A chance? That Yang Pei's desire to serve is simply coming to surface again. Is it really that difficult to kill someone in Avacania realm? The old man lowered his head and cast a cold glance at Ziruo. Ziruo fell silent. I, too, can kill those in Avacania realm. I have even killed 3 powerful warriors from the previous eon, while he had only managed to seal one. If that person didn't bother to come to Dark Dawn, I would have ignored him, but since he is here, then he will be my prey. Once I kill him, I will henceforth be known as Xianxia. The old man swung his arm and stood up. This matter is decided. Resolution appeared on the old man's face. As he spoke, he stepped into space, leaving behind the Sovereign of Dawn Ziruo. She stared at the jade slip on the table and sighed in her heart. If a person is too confident in themselves, they will not be able to see their real strength clearly. The 3 powerful warriors from the previous eon Kang San Nu killed had already given up on eternal life and separated their minds and souls on their own. They were people who had harbored the intent to die since the start. And the powerful warrior from the previous eon who was sealed mentioned in Yang Pei's jade slip was clearly one of the incredibly powerful kind. Kang San Nu may go seek his own death. My tribe and the other tribes who have affiliated themselves to me must not offend that Su Ming. But Ziruo gritted her teeth, got up, and moved, disappearing from the oasis in the galaxy. When she was in midair, she stopped moving, and a strange light appeared in her eyes when a sudden thought struck her. Her expression gradually calmed, but the light in her eyes grew brighter. Since this person is so strong and Yang Pei said he is the strongest in this eon, then if I can have a child with someone as powerful as he is, the child born of our blood will definitely have no limits to his future as well. When she thought of this, Zi Ruo's face turned redder. She never had a partner in her path of cultivation, and she had always believed that she did not need one. However, in the depths of her heart, she had always wanted to have her own children, and it was a regret she always had. However, when she cast her eyes over the entire universe, she found no man that would fit her, and that included Kang San Nu. Yet now, Su Ming's name appeared in her mind. But an old monster like him would definitely not agree to this sort of matter. I will need to think of a way to do this. Zi Ruo was tempted by her thought. Once the idea was born in her head, she could not dispel it no matter what she did, and it became even more prominent in her mind. The feeling of danger from scheming against a powerful warrior caused Zi Ruo to suck in a deep breath. An indistinct shadow appeared behind her, and it was clearly the image of a lotus flower with a white fox sitting on it. It looked vivid and alive. Determination swiftly appeared on her face. She moved and disappeared into the sky. At the same time, within Saint Defia's camp in Arid Triad's second expanse cosmos was the exact same jade slip placed before 3 people. One of them was an old man, another a woman, and the last a middle-aged man. The old man was Lord Saint Defia Xianju. While Su Ming had never seen the woman personally, he was definitely not unfamiliar with her. She was Lord Saint Defia Fei Hua, who had sent her ring into Arid Triad. She was also the one who had caused the bald crane to have confusion and a complicated look appear on its face all those years ago. As for the middle-aged man, he had a calm look on his face, but there was a hint of a darkness in his eyes. As he stared at the jade slip, he let out a cold harumph. The strongest of this eon. Isn't that sovereign of Dawn Yang Pei exaggerating things? If any of the seniors sleeping in the valley woke up, they too could be known as the strongest of this eon. The middle-aged man was the 3rd Lord Saint Defia of Saint Defia's camp. His name was Xiao Song. Yang Pei might seem aloof, but in truth, he is a very cautious person. He has always been able to make the correct assessment of any situation. He sent us this jade slip several months ago to tell us that this Su Ming was about to come. He must surely harbor some malicious intent, but based on this, I can tell that he is incredibly confident in Su Ming. Yang Pei intends to use his strength to pressure us. Xianju sighed softly. When he spoke hoarsely, a hint of determination appeared on his face. Oh well, then let me make some calculations to see just how this Su Ming will pose a threat to us. Xianju's eyes shone. When he lifted his right hand, 9 beast bones not uniform in size appeared on his palm. He struck them with his left hand, then swiftly closed his eyes. He executed his inborn divine ability, intending to gain a premonition about Su Ming. Xiao Song immediately snapped into attention and looked over with a look of concentration. He knew how powerful Xianju's art was, and even those sleeping old monsters could have their preordained fates predicted by him. Xianju had never failed in his art. Only Fei Hua had a look of confusion on her face. She constantly looked into the distance, and for some reason, her heart trembled slightly, as if something that was the most important thing to her in her life had appeared in the expanse cosmos. Chapter 1308. This presence came from the universe beyond 137th expanse cosmos was among the 180 expanse cosmoses of Dark Dawn. It was located far away from Saint Defia's border, and it was also far away from Arid Triad's gap. It was on the other side of Dark Dawn. The expanse cosmos belonged to a race named Bear Charters. They occupied this one expanse cosmos, and they had grown and prospered in this place since they had inherited their legacy from the Second Era. There were hundreds of thousands of people in this race, so it was not really big, but not small either. The 136th expanse cosmos was known as Bear Chart Expanse Cosmos, and Bear Chart Tribe was its master. There were 3 altars that eternally existed in the boundless galaxy within Bear Chart Expanse Cosmos. They floated about but did not move themselves, and it had been so for countless years. Bear Chart Tribe had set down seals and runes around the 3 altars. They slowly rotated around the altars, turning the place into forbidden ground. They protected them as if this was the mission of Bear Chart Tribe, and they had kept it up to that date. The 3 altars looked incredibly old. One of them was even largely damaged. It exuded an air of ancientness, as if it was falling apart. There was a huge crack in its center, and it looked like it went through the entire altar. If anyone stood on the altar and lowered their heads, they would be able to see the galaxy under it. The crack might have gone through the entire altar, but it seemed like there was some sort of strange power contained in it, which prevented the altar from falling apart. Instead, the two parts of the altar seemed to be attracted to each other. They were stuck to each other, refusing to move. Compared to that altar, the third one was kept in a very good condition. On that day, it suddenly shone with a dark light. It instantly grew to a piercing degree and surrounded the entire altar. When it did so, the stone platform that appeared to be sturdy looked as if it had started melting. Once it sank in, some boils even appeared on it, as if it had turned into a swamp. Who is it? Who is talking about the great-grandpa crane? The bald crane shuddered, then popped its head out of the altar. It flapped its wings at full strength, then flew out from the altar that now resembled a swamp. When it flew out, it immediately looked around it with suspicion. The feeling that some strange thoughts had appeared in the depths of its mind once it entered Dark Dawn and Saint Defia's universe had caused it to attempt to search for them. But no matter what, it could not find the source. Immediately after, the sovereign of Dawn Xianxia's figure appeared on the swamp-like altar. He turned into a long arc and flew out swiftly, then he wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed deeply to the altar. The instant he bowed, Su Ming's figure slowly appeared from the altar. He walked forth, and the swamp-like stone altar under his foot became something like mud, but when Su Ming put his foot down, the mud split up on its own. It was as if it did not dare to stop Su Ming. When he walked into the galaxy, the altar behind him became solid again, and the dark light dissipated as well. Su Ming cast a cold glance at the area around him, then directed his gaze on Xianxia. Master, Arid Triad's Gap is in Saint Defia's camp. If we went there and wished to return to Dark Dawn, we would inevitably run into some disturbances. This is the ancient relocation rune connected to Dark Dawn I mentioned earlier, Xianxia immediately said in an incredibly respectful voice. Su Ming swept his gaze over the three altars. Once he cast them a few scrutinizing glances, he noticed a presence that did not belong to this eon on them. It was clearly a mark that had existed since a long time ago. However, since one of the altars was preserved in a rather good condition and Xianxia had secretly transformed it, it became one of the methods for him to save his life. Based on what he said on the way, no matter where he was, as long as he had some time to make preparations, he could immediately relocate to this place. This was because he was a member of Bear Chart tribe. He was a sovereign of Dawn who came from this tribe, and while he had an expanse cosmos belonging to him since he was a sovereign of Dawn, in the end, he belonged to the Bear Charters. And only the Bear Charters had had the chance to examine the three altars as well as use them. What concerned Xianxia though, he was among the best in using them. Xianxia was silent for a moment, but even when he spoke, he did not manage to give a detailed description, because even he was not too certain about the matter. Master, are you interested in these three altars? Based on Bear Charter Tribe's years of analysis and observations, we've discovered that in the beginning, the first altar seemed to relocate people to an incredibly far-away place, but we don't know the exact location of that spot. Compared to it, the second altar definitely relocates over a shorter distance, because its aura has disappeared over the years, but based on some of it the tribe had kept, we can sense a presence that is great and difficult to put to words. It seems like the place with the aura is a place where cultivators are as insignificant as ants. Xianxia only knew that the first and second altars were damaged. Only the third altar could allow them to return to this place from other locations. If they could use it skillfully, it could serve a critical function during dangerous moments. If you've stored this aura, you can try to gain a sense of it. Su Ming averted his gaze from the altar. When he said those words, the invisible runes and seals around the three altars suddenly shone with a gentle light. When it formed a ripple, dozens of long arcs charged forth with loud whistles. They instantly approached them, then turned into cultivators. The person in the lead was an incredibly tall and large man. When he moved forward, the shadow of a huge bear seemed to manifest behind him. When he drew closer, he immediately wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed deeply to Xianxia. I, tribe leader of Bear Chart tribe, greet the sovereign of Dawn. The man's voice was as loud as waves. When it came out in loud booms, The dozens of people behind him wrapped their fists in their palms towards Yang Pei as well. Their greetings were uniform, created a wave of sound that spread through the area. How many star altar stones in the tribe still have their whole aura preserved in them? The moment the ripples from the runes and seals spread out, the obsequious look on Yang Pei's face disappeared like the wind, replaced by a dignified and aloof one. It turned him back into the supreme sovereign of Dawn. By his side, the bald crane had a scornful look on its face. It turned its head away in contempt, but it was noting down everything Yang Pei did in its heart. Being diligent and thirsting for new knowledge was a very good habit of the bald crane. Reporting to the Sovereign of Dawn, there are still 5 star altar stones that have been kept in perfect condition. The seals have not been broken, which is why their aura has not spread out. If you require it, I will have someone bring them over, the man from Bear Chart tribe immediately said respectfully, then cast a brief glance at Su Ming from the corner of his eyes while he began forming assumptions about Su Ming's status in his mind. Bring 3 over. These stones with the ancient aura are limited in number. You will need to keep some in the tribe, Yang Pei said slowly after thinking the matter over. The man immediately wrapped his fist in his palm and voiced his obedience. He turned around and looked at the old man by his side. With a nod, the old man turned into a bear of 1,000 feet in height. He threw his head back and roared before he turned into an afterimage of a long arc and disappeared into the distance. Su Ming did not bother with the talk between Yang Pei and the people from Bear Chart tribe. His expression was indifferent. With one step, he moved forward. The bald crane quickly followed behind him, and even cast a smug look at the Sovereign of Dawn Yang Pei. The people from Bear Chart tribe had never seen Su Ming before, and they could not see any ripples of power from him either. But they knew that since this person came with their Sovereign of Dawn, he was definitely outstanding and not to be offended. When the cultivators from Bear Chart tribe looked over, their pupils shrank. Shock appeared on their faces. They could clearly see that once Su Ming came in contact with the ripples from the invisible seals and runes, the runes shuddered and disappeared before him as if they were moving back on their own. Not only did this scene cause the people from Bear Chart tribe to be shocked, even the tribe elder of Bear Chart tribe turned his head around abruptly because he had sensed it. His pupils shrank, and disbelief appeared on his face. The Bear Charters had lived around the runes and had inherited their legacy for a very long time. Over the countless years, each generation of their tribe would perfect the runes. Their power was perhaps not the offensive type, but their defensive properties made the runes impossible to break within a short period of time even for the powerful warriors in Avacania realm. But the runes had not shown even a single fluctuation of power right then. It was as if the runes had backed away on their own, as if they were a vassal greeting their sovereign. They did not dare to block his path even for a moment. It was this image that had arisen in the mind of the tribe elder of Bear Chart tribe. His expression changed drastically. As his mind roared, he instinctively asked, Who is he? A person who is unbeatable even if all of Dark Dawn work together to fight against him. The strongest cultivator in the universe. A fanatic look appeared in Yang Pei's eyes as he mumbled his answer. When he walked out of the rune, Su Ming cast a glance at the galaxy in this area. With an indifferent expression on his face, he sent his will sweeping through the area, and it instantly covered the entire expanse cosmos. It's a very small expanse cosmos, and no will has been born here. But there's a clear border between it and the other expanse cosmoses. It doesn't seem as if the border was naturally formed. Instead, it looks like someone used a great divine ability to divide this place and create it. When Su Ming's will spread out, Yang Pei flew out from the rune to land beside him. Go and investigate the tunnel all of you from Dark Dawn's camp had set up in the Fifth Ocean in Arid Triad's barren lands of divine essence. It might not have been activated, but find out where the people who acted as the garrisons are currently located, Su Ming said faintly, then retrieved his will. He did not forcefully sweep through the 180 expanse cosmoses. After all, this place also belonged to Arid Triad. Yang Pei immediately voiced his obedience. Just as he was about to say something, a long arc came charging from the distance. It was the old man who brought the star altar stones. When he came over, he immediately bowed to Yang Pei and delivered 3 jade boxes to him. Su Ming swept his gaze over the jade boxes, and his pupils constricted in a barely noticeable manner. He seized space with his right hand, and the 3 jade boxes instantly charged towards him. Su Ming caught one of them and squeezed it lightly. The jade box shattered to reveal a stone the size of a fingernail in it. At the instant the jade box shattered, the stone exuded an aura that caused a grave look to appear on Su Ming's face. He could not identify the aura, but he could deduce at first glance that it did not come from any of the expanse cosmoses belonging to Arid Triad, or rather, this aura did not belong to the universe in harmonious Morus Alba. The presence came from the universe beyond. Chapter 1309. The entire process from the moment the aura appeared to the moment it vanished lasted for 10 or so breaths. When the stone the size of a fingernail in his hand no longer had the aura that did not belong to harmonious Morus Alba in it, Su Ming's eyes flashed. A universe beyond harmonious Morus Alba, A contemplative look appeared on his face. When Yang Pei saw Su Ming's expression, he was momentarily stunned. He had sensed the aura in the stone before and only felt that it was unfamiliar. He had sensed nothing else aside from that. The stone pieces belonged to the second altar, but due to how unique the aura was and how it continued to dissipate, it would completely disappear in a few years. That was why Bear Chart Tribe had used the method to preserve the last batch of the stones. But their method of preservation was not perfect, which was why once the seal was broken on a stone piece, the people around it would be able to sense its aura for 10 breaths, but after that period of time, the aura would completely disappear. Not only was Yang Pei stunned, the dozens of people from Bear Chart Tribe were also puzzled as to what had happened to Su Ming when they saw the contemplative look on his face. The aura was just unfamiliar. Aside from that, they had never been able to find out any other benefits to the stones no matter how they investigated it. By the looks of it, the second altar is really a relocation altar, but it doesn't relocate to any of the expanse's cosmoses of harmonious Morus Alba or Arid Triad. Instead, it can send a person out of the butterfly itself. When Su Ming thought of this, his heart trembled. With his level of cultivation, it had become rare for him to be shocked, but the aura and the altar had given him an idea of a possibility. When the 4 wings of harmonious Morus Alba split up and overlapped over the eons, some cultivators had chosen to survive by fusing with their other selves, some chose to possess the butterfly, and some people left behind their legacy in All Spirits Hall. However, some people might have chosen to leave. They left in the truest meaning of that word. They left harmonious Morus Alba's body and went to the universe beyond. They went to the space where the other 8 butterflies were. Su Ming did not know what was there. Even after attaining his current level of cultivation, he did not know that he was as weak as an ant compared to the entire universe beyond. While he pondered over it, Su Ming's eyes suddenly sparkled, and when he lifted his head, he looked at Yang Pei. "Bring me all of these stones." Yang Pei's heart shuddered. There was a look that allowed neither disagreement nor argument in Su Ming's eyes. It caused him to feel his skin crawl, and he did not dare say no. Without any hesitation, he immediately looked at the tribe elder of Bear Chart Tribe. The expression of the tribe elder of Bear Chart Tribe changed several times. He gritted his teeth, then personally flew away. He was gone only for the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. During that time, everything in the area was silent. No one spoke. Gradually, an unseen mighty pressure filled the area, pushing down on all the people to the point that they felt like they could not circulate their cultivation bases smoothly. Soon though, the tribe elder of Bear Chart Tribe came charging to the area. He did not hand the other 2 jade boxes to the sovereign of Dawn Yang Pei, but instead personally brought them to Su Ming. Once Su Ming took them, he cast a glance at the man and nodded. "I will not take the items of your tribe without offering anything back." When Su Ming said that, he lifted his right hand and tapped the center of the man's brow. It happened so quickly that before the man registered what had happened, his body shuddered. He took a few staggering steps backwards and coughed up a mouthful of black blood. A large amount of black blood trickled out from his pores. When the tribe members' expressions changed drastically, the man lifted his hand and gestured for them to not move. He lifted his head with strenuous effort. Crazed delight and excitement appeared on his face, along with disbelief. He could clearly sense that his blood felt 10 times purer than it was in the past. As the black blood trickled out, the shadow of the giant bear behind him instantly grew larger, and it was no longer an illusion. It now looked like it had corporeal form. This could be said to be the greatest serendipity in his life. His blood had been cleansed, causing his cultivation base to increase by leaps and bounds, and his aura also became stronger. With excitement, the man bowed deeply to Su Ming. "Thank you. Thank you for your kindness of recreating me, sir." When the man said those words in excitement, Su Ming did not speak. Instead, he lowered his head and stared at the jade box in his hand. His expression changed continuously, but after a moment, resolution appeared in his features. "I'd like to see just how the world of this aura looks like." Su Ming no longer hesitated. He lifted his right hand, and banging sounds immediately echoed in space. 2 of the 4 jade boxes immediately shattered to reveal 2 stone pieces with uneven surfaces. Thick waves of unfamiliar aura instantly spread out from them. Su Ming seized space, and the aura immediately gathered together to turn into a small ball that was about to dissipate. When Su Ming grabbed it and pushed it at the center of his brow, he closed his eyes. His will instantly burst out. Immediately, the small ball at the center of his brow filled with it, and a loud bang shot up in Su Ming's mind. Quickly, with the aura as a lead, his will as a bridge, his art of time as the divine ability he needed, he executed the divine art of turning back time, bringing forth the effect that only he could bring. Su Ming's body shuddered. His will seemed to have moved through an innumerable amount of time and swam through eons until a vast expanse of space appeared before his eyes. He had seen that space before. It was exactly the same as the universe where the 9 butterflies flew. Endless fog tumbled about continuously in that place. When Su Ming looked towards the fog, he had a strong feeling that the power contained in the fog every single time it tumbled could instantly destroy a powerful warrior in Avacania realm. Even Su Ming himself would not be able to bear the fog for long if he ran into it while it tumbled about. And this was just the most commonly seen movement of the fog in the vast space. There were also bolts of lightning swimming in the fog. They twisted about, giving off a feeling of ferocious. They were not truly lightning bolts, but were lines that contained bright and uneven light. However, they caused Su Ming to sense death. He could clearly tell that with his current body and level of cultivation, his form and soul would be destroyed upon touch. Only his will would remain, but even so, once the lightning bolts touched him a few times, he would definitely end up dead. Su Ming was silent. He chased after the lead provided by the aura and moved through time, swimming through the tumbling fog and the lightning that was not real, until he saw a butterfly in the fog around him. It was not Harmonious Morus Alba, because the picture on its wings was different. That butterfly was shuddering and falling apart. There was a feng shui compass about its size above it, and it was sucking something out of the butterfly. It continued doing so until the butterfly turned into glittering spots of light. Once they were completely absorbed by the feng shui compass, Su Ming saw a black-robed young man sitting cross-legged on the compass while holding a string of pearls in his hand. "I have the 6th reverse spirit now, but I wonder where the 7th reverse spirit hid itself." At the moment his voice landed in Su Ming's ears, the young man suddenly lifted his head and looked at him. His eyes seemed to contain emptiness itself. Chapter 13:10. My mind will not be able to rest. A fierce light appeared in the black-robed young man's eyes, as if he could see Su Ming's will moving through time. When Su Ming looked back, his mind shuddered. It was as if the young man's eyes contained some sort of emperor's will. His gaze was so domineering that it felt as if he was the one who stood supreme over everything in the universe. Those who obeyed him would prosper, and those who went against him would die. If there was even a hint of defiance in anyone towards him, their whole race would immediately be destroyed, and their bloodline would be completely wiped off. In fact, even if there was no defiance, if anyone showed any hesitance in their words, they would have to face his thunderous rage and killing intent, which would feel as if the universe was about to collapse. The blatant domineering air felt like it belonged to the peak existence. He had pride, confidence, and an arrogance that he was someone who stood above all lives. His gaze was cold and aloof, but there seemed to be a voice echoing beside Su Ming's ears at that moment. That voice might not be from the black-robed young man's mouth, but to Su Ming, it felt as if it was truly echoing in his ears right then. "If you provoke me, no matter where you hide, what level of cultivation you have, what protection you have by your side, whether you come from the past or the future, as long as you provoke me, I will kill you, destroy your race, wipe off your bloodline, and erase all traces of your existence." Begone. The faint voice had endless aloofness. At the moment it finished speaking, Su Ming's will let out a bang, as if the voice and the aloof expression was a storm that could destroy his will. That storm went on a rampage in the space where Su Ming was. As his mind roared, his will felt as if it had turned into a huge vortex, and then he was instantly devoured by it. Su Ming's body jolted. His eyes flew open, and he found himself still in Dark Dawn's camp, the 137th Expanse Cosmos. Before him was the man from Bear Chart tribe. Next to him was the sovereign of Dawn Yang Pei. Around him were the people from Bear Chart tribe. They did not know what Su Ming had experienced, but their faces were pale, and it was especially so for Yang Pei. His level of cultivation was the greatest among the rest, which was why his ability to sense was the strongest too. During the instant just then, Yang Pei had clearly sensed that Su Ming's presence had vanished and had been filled by an ancient will. He stood there, but had been shrouded by fog. If he had just become indistinct, it would have been nothing, but Yang Pei had clearly sensed an unfamiliar presence appear around Su Ming at that instant. That presence was so strong that it was enough to make all of Dark Dawn, Saint Defier, and Arid Triad tremble. Yet, while they could sense that presence in this place, not a single bit of its presence spread outwards. Su Ming knew all of that. He also understood that the black-robed young man's presence could not just make Arid Triad tremble. Even the former complete harmonious Morris Alba would quiver in fear before him, because Su Ming had personally witnessed another butterfly with the exact same form as harmonious Morris Alba be easily devoured by the enchanted vessel in the form of a feng shui compass. Who is he? Su Ming's pupils shrank. That man was the greatest threat he had sensed ever since he became the strongest of his eon. Before that moment, he had never imagined that there could be such a powerful warrior in the universe. He exceeded Su Ming's imagination. He fell into silence, but suddenly, a brilliant light flashed in his eyes. This thing was like a thorn embedded into the depths of his heart, and it also let Su Ming himself know that he could still be afraid. It was something he had not felt for many years. The last time he felt like that was when he was in Divine Essence Star Ocean. At that time, he had not wanted to succumb to his fear, because he could not lose. If he lost, he would die. Right then, he could not succumb to his fear either, because when people reached his level of cultivation, once they showed any signs of backing down, they would no longer be themselves. When the brilliant light shone in his eyes, Su Ming lifted his right hand and swung his arm. 2 of the 3 jade boxes before him immediately shattered, and the ancient aura immediately spread out again. Su Ming seized space with both hands, and the aura immediately charged towards him to surround him and form a vortex. It rotated swiftly, and the ancient presence of time grew stronger within it. As Su Ming stared at the vortex, determination appeared on his face. If I give up on this just like that, my heart will be filled with indignation. If my heart is filled with indignation, my thoughts will not be clear. If my thoughts are not clear, then my mind will not be able to rest. A ferocious look appeared on Su Ming's face, which was the first time since his will had been perfected. It made Yang Pei's heart tremble. He had never seen such an expression on Su Ming's face before, and it made him feel as if his heartbeat was about to freeze. If he was in such a state, then it was even more so for the other people from Bear Chart tribe. They were all intimidated and stunned by Su Ming's expression. Their minds instantly went blank, and they lost their ability to think. If my heart is filled with indignation, if my thoughts are not clear, if my mind cannot rest easy, I shall break this state. Killing intent appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He lifted his right hand and swiftly seized the space in the direction of the vortex. It swiftly shrank, and when Su Ming held it in his hand, it became the size of an egg. He then placed it at the center of his brow without any hesitation. At the instant he pushed his hand, Su Ming's mind let out a bang. Everything in his field of vision turned into a vortex again, and he saw the vast expanse of space once more. His world began reversing swiftly to allow him to return to the past again, and he returned to the scene he saw previously, the black-robed young man absorbing the butterfly on the feng shui compass. He saw the black-robed young man raise his head again and let out a cold harumph towards him. The moment the young man did so, Su Ming's will froze, as if the world had collapsed, as if the person before him was an emperor, and Su Ming himself was an ant which could be wiped off in the next breath. But Su Ming gritted his teeth, and all his will gathered with the power of Morning Dao, Immortal Sect, Sky Hill, and the Emperor of Abyss True World, allowing him to turn it into an incredibly powerful wave of madness that would make him into a sword that could slice through the laws, governing his destiny. That sword charged towards the person who had let out the cold harumph, sending a strike that seeped through an endless number of years from an unknown amount of time in the future, also that it could have that madness explode in the man's face. Su Ming had to deliver that strike. He had to cut through the indignation in his heart, the unclear state of his thoughts, and the restless state of his mind. Loud booms instantly filled the universe. Su Ming could not see the results, because at the moment his will touched the young man, he shattered to pieces. If I cannot break it, then I can choose not to touch it. But when the day comes when I will have to come into contact with it, I will go against. I will go against all lives who seized my kismet. This was the roar that came from Su Ming's soul before his will crumbled. It seemed to still be echoing around him when Su Ming's eyes opened and found himself still in the galaxy belonging to Dark Dawn's camp. Everything was still the same as before. Fatigue appeared in Su Ming's eyes, but a graveness only he understood had entered them as well.